So for a black newcomer who just arrives in Calgary today, and they've got the credentials, they've got the ambition to match it, but no network. Like, first of all, do you think what's the actual path? Like, how do you break in? That's one. Two, how does CBC help and in kind of helping people find their way?
Yeah, I think I'll answer that the latter question. CBC helps in terms of the fellowship meetings that it has every second Thursday. There is a fellowship meeting that's held at the Petroleum Club, and in these meetings we talk about things like mental health, the impact of AI. We just had one last night where we were speaking to
Welcome to the Newcomers podcast, everyone, where I explore what it means to be an immigrant, with immigrants like myself and everyone who's involved in just kind of finding yourself in Canada. Today, again, I've had some really great guests. I think this is another named after that rooster. I have with me David Bradshaw, who is the president of Calgary Black Chambers. I followed his work for a bit. I think he's one of the most amazing black leaders I've come across. I've watched. He inspires me a ton. So forgive me if along the way in the conversation you see me laughing a lot and stuff. You know how it is when you're in front of superstars. So that's it. But welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for those kind words. I am not a superstar. You know what it really boils down to, Dozy? I just care. That's what it is. I just care when I commit to something, or I'm going to say I'm going to do something, I'll do it. End of story. That's really what it's all about.
And I think that's a pretty good place to start, because people say it's easy to care, but I also think about what someone said to me one time, where he says when you experience stuff as you grow up through your career, you have two choices. You can either decide to go through the experience and use that to build the care to make sure that doesn't happen to other people, or you just basically just feel like you're a victim and go around saying, I hate what happened here, blah, blah, blah. So tell me, if you think back through your career, how do you think you got to this point where you're doing all the things you're doing today? Because, man, you are doing a ton of stuff. I'll be honest.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's a great question, and I think it started really early, like really, really early on. I could go back to the days when I used to work at the community center in Malvern Arena in Toronto, and some people just think, as an executive, you just show up like this. Like they don't understand the journey that you took. So I used to clean washrooms in the arena and mop up the floors after people were playing hockey in the hockey dressing room. Sometimes they would look at me or ignore me or throw the beer bottles on the floor. Some of them were nice, some of them weren't so nice. So what I got from that experience was, when you're cleaning or doing this type of work where you're caretaking for other people, like, you're invisible. Like, you are completely invisible. And that was an awful feeling, to feel like the work that you were doing, other than your boss telling you that, but the public, just not being no one saying hello to you. Sometimes they say hello, sometimes they don't. That's what really got things started for me, because I didn't like that feeling of not being seen and not being acknowledged. I can't describe it. It just felt, you didn't feel like much. So you could do two things. You could complain about the job and say how horrible these people are, or you can continue doing your good work and making sure, because my job was to clean up the washrooms, clean up whatever it was, the showers, everything. I had to clean the whole thing with a team of other people. So I found my solace in terms of working with other people, and then I spoke to them like, how come they treat us like that? And go, whoa, David, we're just to help. We're rink rats. That's what they used to call us, rink rats. You clean up the arena, and you clean up. You help them clean up the ice when the Zamboni comes on. You help shovel up the ice and clean up the ice. And sometimes, while you're on the ice, some of the hockey players will get on the ice. This is public, and they'll start shooting pucks, and you're still on the ice, clean it up, and go like, hold on, I'm still here. So yeah, that's when I started to feel that, and because I did really good work there, I got promoted to bartender, and then eventually running the tennis center, and then eventually running the whole arena. And there was a person there. He was a police officer. His name was Bruce. Can't remember his last name because it was so long ago. But Bruce. But he taught me the importance of always just doing really, really good work, no matter what your role was. So that was really, really important to me. But as I became the leader of that place, I made it my point to not treat people like the way how I was treated, like ignoring people, not saying hello to people, not acknowledging people. Like I was very, very active in terms of making sure that the people were acknowledged, but also the customers, the people that came into the arena, that they were acknowledged as well. I just knew what that felt like.
And then you go on and you do like really interesting things with ING, Tangerine Bank, and all this stuff. But I wouldn't even, because now that you talked about that lesson, I would understand the person who walked into those rooms to build those contact centers and do all that stuff. I wouldn't understand the guy who walked into those rooms, because I feel like the thing about a lot of conversations is, like you said, people think people show up, but people just don't show up. People walk through ladders and do stuff and learn and fail and adjust. And so I want to understand the guy who walked into those rooms and started building all those things, and what was driving him.
Yeah, so I couldn't figure out. I remember I was at the Black Professional Association, and I talked about me being put into a box, like even with my parents. We want, becoming an accountant, and
Oh God.
taking accounting and being told by the guidance counselors, this is the best place for you, is to become an accountant.
Yeah.
I was good with numbers, but I actually didn't enjoy the work. But I did it anyway, despite that. And this was the second big life lesson for me. So I took accounting, and I was very, very close to finishing my CGA. Very close to finishing my CGA. But Dozy, I couldn't stand accounting. I couldn't take it. I imagined myself in a role like that, and I said, I'm going to be miserable, and I don't want to be that miserable person that when you walk by my cubicle, my head's down, or I'm complaining about my job, because this is something you have to do 8 hours a day, right? And if you hate what you do 8 hours a day, that's going to manifest itself into all kinds of things.
Yeah.
So what happened is, I told the story at the Black Professionals Association. I was doing co-op, and I actually got fired from co-op because I wasn't doing a trial balance properly. It wasn't that I did not know how to do a trial balance, because that's the basics of accounting. I just didn't care.
Yeah.
And the person who was managing me, my supervisor, who was managing me, saw that. There were days where I daydreamed about doing something else instead of my job. Like just sitting there daydreaming, because I was working in accounts payable, and I saw these people traveling and doing all these things and doing all these additional courses, going, wow, I wonder what that would be like. That sounds exciting. But I didn't know how to get there. And I daydreamed, and I wasn't concentrating on my work.
Yeah.
And I wasn't passionate about my work. And my boss got rid of me. He said, David, I'll never forget the day. He said, David, this is not for you. Pack up your thing.
That's a great human being, honestly.
Yeah, he did. He said, this is not for you. He goes, go and grab a beer. Because I wasn't doing the trial balance. my trial balance was off by 10 cents, and I remember saying, I have 10 cents in my pocket. Could that help? I was being facetious. And he knew that, and he said, this is not for you. You need to go, and you need to figure out what you want to do with your life. So I remember calling my girlfriend at the time and saying, I got fired from Co-op. She goes, you got fired from Co-op? Isn't Co-op free? And I said, yeah, but they don't want me there anymore, and I don't want to be there. And that taught me a major life lesson, which was number one, don't do things that you're not passionate about. If you don't
Yeah.
care about what you're doing, or you're not committed to what you're doing, don't do it, because you're going to do poor work, and you're going to impact a whole bunch of people along the way. That was number one. And then number two, don't allow people to dictate your choices in life that tell you what to do, because that's how you become a victim. Because you talked about it before, when someone tells you you need to do this, and someone takes a little bit more control over your life, that's how you start to become a victim, and that's how you start to complain. Because I could have easily said, blame my boss and told the supervisor this is on you, but I didn't. I said, I sat back and said, I really need to figure out what the hell I want to do. And I ended up getting into marketing. And I found out that I was good with people. I found out that I was really good at sales, and good in terms of working with individuals and coaching individuals. And then that's what I focused on from that point. But it was it was something that I had to sit back and think about.
I want to go off on a tangent right now, and we'll come back. People will come back. The tangent really is, when you talked about that thing about don't let people tell you what to do, because when that happens, you turn to someone that complains and feels like a victim. I feel like that's one big thing we immigrants kind of struggle with. So we moved to a new country, and I can understand why people will feel that way. You're in a new country, life is like literally tabula rasa, like they would say. Basically, just nothing. You don't know anything. And then people come and say to you, no, you can do this, or you should do that, or no, don't try this. Because like I remember, I tell this story all the time. When I moved here, folks told me I couldn't do marketing here. I should go do project management. I couldn't do marketing here because I had done marketing in Nigeria and I couldn't do marketing here. And it was funny because I remember how bad that felt for me when I heard that. I mean, I'm stubborn, so I basically just said, well, I don't freaking care what you think. I will do what I want to do. If I fail, I will. I've failed before, so I'm not scared of failing. And I went ahead to do what I wanted to do. But I talked to some of people, and when I asked them, what do you want to do? They say, I don't know, because everyone says that I need to change to fit in. And I think the question is really, what's the balance between adapting and not losing yourself in the process?
Yeah, and I've done it where I've gone too far, where I try to fit in. And the place where I really did that, and Xerox was a great organization. That's where that's where I really started to grow as a leader, was at Xerox, because I had some good leaders around me at the time. People like Paul Thorn. People won't know these names, but I remember them vividly. I remember their first and last names: Paul Thornhill, Jim Lovey, Thelma Moultrie. These were individuals that really impacted who I was. And when I got there, this was like my first kind of big kind of corporate job. And oh, by the way, the CEO at the time happened to be black. His name was Rich Barton. And I remember desperately just trying to fit into that culture and trying to be someone who I wasn't. And it took so much energy, and I was tired at the end of the day. And what happened as a result of me doing that, there was an employee satisfaction survey that came out, and it was on me, on how I performed as a leader, because I was a sales manager there at Xerox after I became a salesperson. And the results were good, But the feedback and the verbatims that were in there, those were the ones that I really paid attention to in terms of what people were saying about me. That David's very, very, very hard driving. He's demanding. He changes his mind frequently. I wasn't clear in my communication, but I was a good motivator, and he really cared about me. But I cared about the other things that were in that survey, and a lot of that was just me trying to fit in to be this corporate person. And I remember my boss saying to me, Jim Lovey, I'll never forget it. He was the one that actually, he was the one that showed me how to kind of dress for success and all this stuff. But I remember him saying to me, David, just be yourself. Like, what are you doing? Like, just be you. I remember him telling me that because he said, you're getting the results, you're performing well. You just need to start being yourself and be comfortable being who you are in this corporate environment. And I did. I took his advice and I just stopped trying to twist myself up into a pretzel and pretend to be someone that I'm not. And I just started to be myself. And it got to a point where I just said, if they don't like who I am and they have to say goodbye to me, then so be it. The weird thing about me, Dozy, I always operated from a perspective that I may not have this job anymore. There was always this thing in the back of my head that I could be fired. I don't know why that was there. Yeah, I always had that. There hasn't been any time in my career where I've kind of sat there and gone, yeah, I think I've got this job. I don't need to worry about getting fired. I'm comfortable here. I've never had that in my career. I've always had this thing in the back of my mind, like, you could be gone, because it's happened to me in the past, right? So I don't and it's not a place of fear. It's a place of, don't get too comfortable, and don't get too cushy with all of this, because it could end, because some of those decisions you don't control.
Gosh, because it happens to me too. I mean, I'll be honest, I do think mine sometimes, I don't know whether it's fear or whether it's just, and I'm being vulnerable here. It's like, I always feel I could show up the next tomorrow and they'll say to me, yo, we think you're done here. You should go. Can you send in your laptop and all that stuff? And so it kind of means that I'm always operating from a place of, I am never fully settled in. I am never always like, I'm just there. I will do my best work. I will show up. I will always be my best self, but I'm never fully settled in. Like, I don't think there's any place I've walked in there where I've just been like, oh yeah, okay, I'm gonna be chill. I think the only time I was that was when I co-founded a startup back in Nigeria with my lecturer at business school. That was then. But yeah, now coming back, what was it like to lead at that level? You know, when you start finding yourself and accepting who you are, what was it like to lead at that level? Especially because sometimes you would stand up in the room and it would just be you as the only person who looked different, you know. Because here's part of why I'm asking that question. I have sometimes not decided to go into some certain bars because I was going to be the only black person there, and I was like, I just couldn't do it. I would just turn and go home because I was like, gosh, like, I felt so out of place.
Yeah, and what I did is what was helpful for me was when I was at Xerox, I got to see a black CEO in action.
Oh, God.
Right? And this was back in the mid-90s. I got to see a black CEO in action. The next person after that was a woman. Her name was Diane McGarry. And Xerox was very big on diversity and inclusion, but it wasn't to the point, I'm going to put you in here because we need more blacks. It was the way how they kind of went about is, we need an executive vice president. Let's search and figure out where these executive vice presidents are. Let's go in places and network with people that we typically don't network with, or go outside of our normal surroundings and go and network with. They did a really good job of doing that. So I got to see them in action, and it was actually really inspirational for me. So, and I remember I was at the Black History, at the Black Professionals, and I talked about the event, and I talked about just asking Richard Barton, like, what did it take for him to get there? And the first thing he told me, you got to get the results. You have to get results. Like, if you don't get results, none of this matters. So make sure you get the results. That's the price of entry. Get the results and exceed the results whenever you can. So that was one of the lessons that I learned from him. The second lesson that I learned from him is, again, just be yourself. It's okay to walk with a chip on your shoulder, but don't walk with a chip on your shoulder from a negative perspective. Walk with a chip on your shoulder that helps drive you to get the results. I want to do better. I want to improve things. I want to help. I want to be helpful for the organization. I want to be helpful for the people. I want to be helpful for our customers. So he said, use that kind of energy to do those things. And I learned that very early on, because when I walk into a boardroom and I'm the only one, because I've gone into bars and I've even had a white friend of mine go, David, do you know that you're the only black person in here? And I go, yeah, I know. I'm the only black person in the bar, but I didn't care. I just didn't care because I didn't care what other people were thinking. I just didn't care. I couldn't allow my life to be run in that way where I'm always worried about, like, what's this person thinking? I'm the only black person in here. I'm going, okay, if I'm the only black person in here, I'm special. You know what? I'm gonna double down. I'm gonna double down on that stuff. I'm gonna double down and be even different. Be something that they don't even expect me to even be. Because as an executive, because of the caring side of my nature, in terms of how I authentically care about people, and because I tend to, I'm a people person first, because I believe if you get people, you get the right team, you rally them, you can accomplish anything. I was a little different from the other executives. I was more involved with the operation. I was more involved with the people. I knew everyone's name. Like, I was just different. So I was a different type of executive. And if you speak to anyone that's worked with me, they'll tell me he's just different. He's not your typical button down type of executive. And that's how I kind of just live my life. And sometimes that worked in my favor, and sometimes it didn't. But I didn't care. I shouldn't say I didn't care. I didn't worry about that, because what I wanted to do is, at the end of the day, I wanted to look back at the mirror and like what I see. And the other thing too is about being that type of leader. I didn't want to be the leader where you come home at the dinner table and you're complaining about me. And you go, David said this to me today. I can't believe the horrible decision that he made. I can't believe how he criticized me today. I want to be the leader where I go, you know what? I really worked hard on this project. And you know what? David acknowledged me. He told me what great work I did. He didn't take credit for it. Like he showcased me. That's the type of conversation that I want people having at the dinner table, not the negative conversations.
How do you get more Davids in our community?
I'm gonna tell you this right now. It's rare. I've been told that before, and I'm not doing it from a bragging pace. It takes a lot of, it takes energy, but it also takes commitment that this is what you want to do. It's part of your DNA. This is how I just operate in life. I truly, people say to me, David, you're such a nice guy. And I go, I'm not nice, I'm kind. There's a difference. Nice is telling people what you think they need to hear. Kind is telling people what they need to hear. So whether you're giving them constructive criticism that's actually going to help them, or you're giving them really positive feedback because they did something really great, then let them know. So that's how I operate, and it doesn't cost you anything to be kind to anyone. It doesn't cost you a cent. It doesn't cost you a cent to acknowledge someone at work. It doesn't cost you a cent to, help bolster the career of someone on your team and stop focusing on yourself all the time. That's how I was. Because my philosophy was, I'm going to make my team great. I'm going to make them successful. And in the end, I'll be successful because I'm making them successful. And we're doing this together. And I want to see them grow together. And sometimes, and what happened with some of those individuals that used to report to me were sitting at the same executive table beside me. And a lot of leaders would feel very uncomfortable with that. Hold on, I used to be this person's boss. Now they're my colleague in the same room. I don't care about that. And some of them actually propelled and got their careers farther than I did. One of them is the president of Northern Credit Union. The other one's a COO at Tangerine Bank. Another one's a senior vice president at Apollo Insurance. Another one's the president of online investments at Bank of Montreal. These are all people that that reported to me that I had a hand in their career, and that's just the way how I go about doing things.
I mean, it does. You know why? You know how it does make sense that you're the president of CBC right now, because I feel like we need that. Like, because my next question was going to be like, how do we even build a unified Black professional identity in a city where this community is still forming, this community is still growing, we're still finding ourselves.
We are. I think a lot of it is around finding common places where we can meet and being vulnerable with one another. And the other thing too is that we also have to start trusting one another and stop being so transactional, right? Like, I'm going to help you, but what are you going to do for me? Because if you can't help me, I can't help you. We have to stop that. And we have to move to a point of, if I can help you and I have the resources and the time to help you, I'm going to help you. And I'm not going to look, this is just me, and I'm not looking for anything in return. You know what will make me happy? What will make me happy is when you're thriving. And if I had some type of role of thumbprint or fingerprint in you thriving and being successful, that's what makes me happy. Is seeing other people thrive and seeing other people being happy. It's not. I don't like that transactional thing. Like, I've done something for you, now you got to do something for me. No, maybe later on down the road, and you have the person that I helped has the time and has the resources. Maybe they could pay it forward. Maybe they can't. Maybe they're not in a position to do it. It doesn't matter. I just want to just help. And you have to put your ego aside for that one. You really have. Your ego needs to be checked right at the door.
Yeah, that is the easiest one and the hardest one.
It is very.
Like, it's easy, but it's hard. I feel like once you do it, once you learn to do it, you can just do it. But is the learning to do it is where people all kind of struggle too.
And I would tell you, there was times when I helped someone and I go, man, you didn't even say thank you afterwards. You didn't even, you made an introduction to them. You wrote this nice email. You introduced them to someone else. They ended up getting the role or advancing in the conversation that they had. And they never came back and even said thank you. And you would sit there and go, you ungrateful. Right, so you initially you would feel that. I'm being honest. You would feel that initially, like, you ungrateful. Then I go, hold on a sec. Why did you do this, David? Are you doing this for
exactly?
Like, why are you doing? Are you doing this for accolades? Like, what's your purpose behind you doing this? Did you really want to help that person or not? So I started to question myself about the motivation and what I was expecting in return. And then I said, if you really want to help someone, helping and being a leader is a thankless job, period. And so don't the accolades and people saying thank you and appreciate it are nice, but don't do it because that's what you want. Do it because you actually care, because you care about the individual and you care about that person thriving. So that's what I had to learn how to do, and make sure that when I was doing it, I was doing it from a place of authenticity and caring, and not a place of, well, you owe me now.
Kind of building on that, the thing I've learned or I've seen about Calgary is professional networks are very tight. Like they're really tight. And it feels like access is really informal. Like you have to, you know someone or you don't know someone, or that's how it just works. And so for a black newcomer who just arrives in Calgary today, and they've got the credentials, they've got the ambition to match it, but no network. Like, first of all, do you think, what's the actual path? Like, how do you break in? There's one. Two, how does CBC help and in kind of helping people find their way?
Yeah, I think I'll answer that the latter question. CBC
Okay.
helps in terms of the fellowship meetings that it has every second Thursday. There is a fellowship meeting that's held at the Petroleum Club, and in these meetings we talk about things like mental health, the impact of AI. We just had one last night where we were speaking to ex collegiate and professional athletes that competed at a very, very high level, that are doing things in their career, and they talked about their journey and the impact that they had on the community. And it was hosted by John Cornish. He moderated the session. And so what that does is it brings the community together, and you're talking about people's stories and their journeys, and you get to ask them questions, and it's a very interactive event. But then there's networking that happens, and as you're networking with other black individuals in the community, and what you find out is that you're not alone in facing these issues, and then you start talking like, so now how can I help you? How could you help me? How could we help one another? How could we support one another? So I think that's where it starts like that in a small way, but then it just grows as you start to have that, and as you start to meet new individuals, and you make these connections with individuals, and you follow through with those connections. That's how you start to expand your network. Is by following through. Okay, let's set up a meeting. Let's have a talk. Let's talk how we can support one another, and then you just go from there. That's how I met you at the right. But you have to follow. But you have to follow through, right? You have to follow through. You have to make a commitment. And when I first came to Calgary back in 2018, I didn't know there wasn't a Calgary Black Chambers at the time. And I was doing a lot of traveling back and forth, so I didn't have a chance to establish my network, and it was quite lonely, and I know what that feels like. And then, bang, we get into COVID. So, right, so that shut down any type of real networking opportunities. And then post COVID, Calgary Black Chambers is formed back in 2019, 2020, and is focused on bringing the community together. So I think start small, and you're right. The professional networks are tight, and sometimes I find they're a bit cliquey, because sometimes you see the same set of individuals travel together. There's a group of them, and it's almost like work, like when you're working in a company, there's a group of people, there's a subculture in an organization, and they know everyone, and they know how to get things done, and you have to find a way to figure out like how can you leverage this group, or how you can get this group to kind of help you get things done in the organization. It's weird how that happens.
Yeah, and my rebellious nature just means that most times I rebel against this kind of clique. So like I see it and I'm just like, no, I'm not gonna just engage. I will talk to a couple of people, but I'm like, because so like let me give an example. Like with the newcomers, for example, since I've been building it, I've had folks come to me. We want to partner, but we want us to be exclusive. I'm like, sorry, just because of who I am and how I think about things. I am never going to do anything and say I am exclusive to you. No, it's like I want to talk to everybody. And so I struggle with that clicky thing a bit. But I guess as you grow older, you start learning how to navigate those things and approach them a bit more with the different mindset and just engage with people, because in the end, you're connecting with people, not with a click.
Yeah. You don't have to be a part of that clique and be involved in that particular clique. But if you engage with them and ask them like, how did you get that done? Like, I need help doing a similar thing. Do
Yeah.
you think you could show me how to get that done? Because I don't know that person. Can you what do I need to do to get this person's attention? So I would use the clicks in that way,
Mm.
like more for knowledge and help, and let them know if there's anything I can do to help you. You let me know. I'm right here.
Yeah.
But I need help here. I'm struggling, and you seem to know how to navigate this way better than I can.
Yeah.
Can I? Can we talk about how you're able to get that done?
Hmm.
You have to be sometimes you have to put yourself out there and be a little bit
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
be a little bit bold and to your point rebellious. Like you have to put yourself out there.
Oh gosh, growing up is such an interesting thing. I think this for me is the biggest question for me, which is I talked about it in the pre-show. The thing I love most about the work and how you approach it is I feel like a lot of people miss out on the fact that a lot of what we're building, especially black professionals, are things that have to outlast us. And so, like, how are you? What maybe the question really is, what responsibilities do you think come with building something? Institutions, communities, mentorship programs that one will outlast your tenure as the CBC president and will outlast you as a person, literally.
Yeah, because yeah, and some people would call that legacy. I I believe the way how you do it. This is my philosophy is you have to have a high kind of say-do ratio, and what I mean by that is deliver on your promises. So if you've made a promise to deliver on something, then you deliver on something. That's number one. So make sure you keep to your commitment, because then you become reliable and highly predictable. And I think that's a good thing. I'm kind of boring. People can figure me out fairly easily. They know what makes me happy, and they also know what pisses me off, which is a good thing because I want to be predictable. And not unpredictable, because I don't want people having to try and figure me out, and you don't want people having to try and figure out your mission and your vision and what you're all about. It has to be very, very clear. It has to be easily digestible, and it has to create value for the community. And then you have to keep at it. You can't give up. You have to keep at it, regardless of the struggles that are coming in front of you. With the whole backlash of deprioritizing DEI and all those other things, right? And in that's happening across the world. You could turtle up and go, you know what? Forget this. We're not gonna win this one. Or you can continue with your message, which your message is around: do you want to build a community of leaders? Do you want to build a community of responsible leaders? Do you want to be one of the best places that people can live, play, and work? Do you want to be a place that people want to raise their families and be happy about? Do you want to be a place where there's economic empowerment for all and no one's getting left behind? If you could do those things and make them clear, and even have show that you are working towards those things, that's how you start to outbuild it. That's how you start to build things that outlast you, because then they mean something to the community, and you're authentic in doing it, and you do it with integrity, and you do it with care. Like, people will follow you. and people will do things for you that are very, very surprising. And I take those philosophies from work. I call it at work. I used to call it discretionary effort, which which is which is you can have people that just come in and just do 9 to 5, and that's it. They shut it off, and they're not interested in anything after that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you create an environment where the goals are very, very clear, the vision is very, very clear, you include others in terms of helping you build out what that future could look like. You ask for feedback as you're building it, as you're going along. You include people as part of the as part of the process, and they feel that they also have a little bit of ownership in what you're trying to accomplish. It will outlast you, because then they'll take over, and they'll be the next set of new leaders. And then they do the same thing with others, and then they'll take over, and they'll be the next set of leaders, and they will continue to evolve. So if you think about what John Cornish and Kieran did when they built Calgary Black Chambers, and the other co-founders, they built an excellent organization. So me as the president, now I'm just kind of building off of the great work that they already have. And then if I can find someone or align myself with someone or a leader that has like-minded, it doesn't have to be another David Bradshaw, but like-minded, cares about the community, cares about what we're doing, cares about the mission and so forth, then that person will take it on, and they'll take it to the next level. And that's how you just keep building it, right? And a lot of it has to do with, Dozy, a lot of it has to do with check your ego out the door, and this is not about you and your agenda. This is not about you. This is about the community that you're serving, or the people that you're serving. It's about them. This is not about you. And that's where I think the trap is. When people get power and influence, they use it in the wrong way. They forget where they've come from. They forget the purpose of what they're doing. And you kind of get a little bit drunk on the success and the power, and you kind of lose your way.
You just reminded me of something. I'm actually looking for it. Something a friend of mine shared on LinkedIn. I'm just looking for it. We were talking. It was so good. And I think I just want to find it and read it out to you. It was a post. She talked about this thing. Where are you? Come on. It should be easy to find it. People post stuff on LinkedIn a lot. Okay, yeah, here. Most of the work that matters is happening on the ground. We are conditioned to believe that meaningful work should be visible, measurable, and celebrated in our lifetime. But real legacy doesn't work that way. The work that truly shifts systems often looks messy in the short term, creates resistance before results, feels slow, unclear, and sometimes like failure, and rarely gives you a clean moment of validation.
So true.
Because legacy isn't about immediate outcome. It's about changing our conditions. And that means you're not building something to own. You're building something others will grow from.
Exactly.
And that's where most leaders get stuck. Like, they think they're building something to own, not something others will grow from. Like, I keep going back to that post because I was just like, gosh, I told her that is just so good. Like, that is so good. I think we all get caught up in, we want it to be visible. We want people to measure and see the impact of the work we've done. We want the validation that comes with it, which kind of goes back to your point about you have to drop your ego at the door. Like, if you can't drop your ego at the door, you can't do nothing.
Yeah, ego could destroy organizations, right? Like, if your ego is so massive and so big, you can have an ambition out there, and because you're so married to the idea, you could be taking the organization down the wrong path and destroy that organization because you won't allow others to give you feedback. You won't include others in terms of the decision making process, and you could really make some bad decisions out there. I think this is what I believe. Good stuff happens when you're not around. If people are making decisions and they're doing things and they're working on things when you don't tell them they have to, this is the discretionary effort that I'm talking about. It's not necessarily working like multiple hours. This is someone going, I don't think that's going to work with our value. Let's take a risk and let's make this decision. They've calculated the risk and they come up with something that's beautiful, and you sit there and go, wow. That's when you know you're making change, when people come to you with ideas and suggestions, or they come up with with work that's actually going to change the things that you're doing, and it's nothing that you ever thought about because you can't think about anything else. But that person is connecting the dots and understands the mission and what and what the organization is trying to achieve, and because they believe in what they're doing, and because you give them the space to think, the space to make mistakes, the space to learn, people will come up with good ideas all the time, and that's how you start building something. That's the stuff that happens below the ground, as opposed to people in the back, sitting at their desk or wherever they are and going, "Oh, this is a waste of time. Oh, what am I doing this BS for? I'll do it because it's just my job. Or I'll do it because I was asked to do it." That's You want people doing it. Go, I'm passionate. I care. I've got an idea. I'm doing this because it's going to help us do this. I know this is going to be a great idea. I know this sector of our community is going to really love this. I'm gonna try this. That's what you want. Those are the conversations that you want. I want to try. I'm going to do this. Yeah, I feel safe in taking this little bit of risk. Okay, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to run it by the team and see what they think. And then once the team's good with it, I'm going to run it by David and see what he thinks. That's the type of stuff the environment that you want to build. Not, I'm going to do this because I'm going to get fired, or I'm going to do this because I want to maintain my status as a volunteer with Calgary Black Chambers. They're doing it for other reasons other than what the main cause is.
Like, I want to go off on a tangent because I still have a couple of questions to ask you, and I will. And it feels like as you're saying these things, it just feels like the models that we've operated on for a long time across the world. I think a lot of them, they're breaking apart because they're a bit faulty. And this is like what you just described is one of them. Is leaders, I feel like leaders of today, not all, some leaders of today, and weren't exactly taught how to go from doing the work to letting other people do the work. I don't know whether part of that is, I've had this issue with the idea of speed for a while now, in the sense that we're always trying to move fast with things. And I have a hypothesis that speed is part of the reason why leaders don't allow their people fail anymore, because we want to move fast and solve things really fast. So because of that, we can't afford for you to try out your idea and learn and fail. And then they forget that they also tried out and learned and failed. But the world is obsessed with speed right now. We've been that way since the tech companies became the de facto model for how businesses are run. But that itself has come with some consequences. And what pains me the most is that thing has bled in from the profit world into non-for-profit world. It has bled into community building. We just move fast. Let's move fast. And so we don't do anything. We don't give things the time to breathe and to grow and to become what they need to become, because we want to move fast. And so then we wonder why our community is not coming up, why are things not working out. Yeah, this was just a tangent. I don't know if it's a question or a thought. It's just something in my head. And as you're talking about leaders learning to watch their people fail and try things, and then have the confidence to come to you and say, hey, I want to do this. This is the plan. I'm going ahead. I just want to just show it to you because and you're like, oh, wow, that is amazing. Yeah, try that and see how it goes. A lot of leaders will go like, no, do it this way because have you thought about this? I don't know. It's just
so the only time I would step in and and kind of veer someone off is if they're going to do something that's going to be detrimentally hurtful, right? Even if I know the person's going to make the mistake and I can see it happening, but it's a small mistake, but they're going to learn from it, I don't let them make the mistake just so that they can learn. Because sometimes making that mistake, it stings a little bit, but then you can have a conversation and use it as a learning opportunity, and that's what helps you grow. You're right. We do operate under this speed. It's got to be done now and done today, and we're trying to use technology to advance things. But if you look at technology today, if you don't get the people stuff right or the process right, and you use technology, all you're doing is making
Yeah.
crappy things or horrible things to happen faster, as opposed
Yeah.
to let's build it, make sure that the foundation is built properly. We're going to use technology to help us to help enhance that process, and eventually we'll end
Yeah.
up to go faster. That's just my philosophy. I'm not a
Yeah.
big believer in rushing things. I'm quick with decisions. Like if we're going to decide to do something and we've had a conversation about it, I don't like having conversations forever. Like if we've committed to something and we all agree,
Let's go.
let's go, let's get it done. And failing is part of life, right? You have to. Like I don't know if I don't know one person that if you think about sports, you keep hearing about these Michael Jordan situations that you know he had to miss X number of shots
Shots, yes.
before he got to where he was today. So he had to fail in order to be successful. But what you do is you create a safe enough environment where people can fail and experiment so that they can grow and feel a part of the solution. And that's how you continue to grow legacy and grow things and keep people attached to what you're doing. Nobody likes to be told what to do. Nobody likes to be um, um, I want you to do this, because I've heard this happen with bosses where they go, I need you to accomplish this, David. And you go, yep, I've got the notes on that. And then they start telling you the way how they would do it. So they go, and so you'll need to speak to Joe in this person, you'll need to speak to this person, you need to speak to that person. You also need to think about putting together a project plan and this, that, and the other. And you look at them and go, well, why don't you just do it yourself? Like, right?
Exactly.
So they, they, they think that's coaching and that's being helpful, but it's not. You're actually telling the person what to do, as opposed to, you know, letting the person know what needs to be accomplished, and then asking, so how can I support you now? Like, what do you need from me right now to get started? Or what support do you need from right now? And get them engaged in that process. And that's what we have to do with our community. Like, what kind of help do you need from me right now? How can I be helpful for you? And then that forces people to think about, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. And they'll go, I'm not sure where to start. I'm kind of lost. Where you lost? Oh, I'm lost over here. Okay, let's get you some help in this area. And then you move up, you work with them. And you do that whether it's in business or whether it's in your community. You do that all the time. That's what I find. That's what I find very, very helpful. And you'll get there. And what will happen is, not only will you build something, it might take a little bit longer, but what you've built is more sustainable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It's not held together with bubble gum and sticky tape because you rushed to get it done.
This feels like a coaching session for me, like one of the mentorship sessions you are run. And probably that's my next question, which is, what's the most important thing if there was a black young kid, probably an MRU student, 'cause I think you all run mentorship programs there, who's listening to this? What do you want them to walk away with from this conversation? Like, what's the one thing? One thing.
Wow.
Should I say three things?
I would think the one thing that they should walk away from, because this to me is this is all encompassing. You got to be really comfortable with who you are.
Yes.
Once you become comfortable with who you are, you stop worrying about what other people think. You stop worrying about taking risks, calculated risks. You stop worrying about, oh, I can't go up and talk to that person. You stop worrying about, oh, I don't have this role, I don't have this title, I don't have these initials behind my name. How could I go and speak to someone like that? I think for me, because that was the big thing for me, was just getting really comfortable with who I was and showing up as David Bradshaw and not this imposter. Um, yeah, that would be the one thing. If you just be true to yourself all the time, so that when anytime you look in the mirror, you look back and go, okay, even when you've made mistakes or you've fallen down, you have to pick yourself back up again. Um, I would rather fail being myself than being successful and being a fraud. Any time of the day, because that could just all crumble around you.
Yeah.
And it takes, to me, it takes too much energy and too much manipulation to be a fraud.
Yeah, and it's tiring.
It's tiring.
Like, end of the day, you're drained every
Yeah,
single day.
You're tired because you got to kind of keep up with the lies that you're telling yourself.
Sometimes like there's the point of where people sometimes don't see the thing because or don't see the mirror. There's no mirror to look back to tell you this is what you can be. When you talked about the having a black CEO and just seeing the person operate, like I feel like that was how you have a mirror, like, okay, I could be this person. And talking about like people being themselves, what do you want the next generation of black Calgarians, young, old people who come in here to have that you didn't have when you moved here or when you started as a black young man in corporate Canada?
I think for me, the most important thing that they should have is a community that they can talk to. That's really, really important because, in these executive roles, a lot of people would go, "Oh, David, yeah, you're a VP of so and so." I was alone a lot. It was very, very lonely, because I didn't know who I could talk to about like the innermost feelings that you have. I could talk to people about the surface stuff, about work and the struggles that I'm facing at work, but the stuff that actually affected me from a mental perspective, or the stuff that I was struggling with, or the decisions that I was mulling over, there were very few people that I actually felt comfortable enough to go out and talk to about that, because they hadn't gone through the same experience that I have, and then B, being a black person, you just don't have those issues. So when you open up, you really want to open up to that individual, and do that. I did get to find one or two of those individuals, and that was very, very helpful at Tangerine Bank, and even at ATP. I did find a few individuals that I can actually speak to, but for the most part, you're alone. So for me, if you can find a community where you can kind of experiment, be yourself, use people as sounding boards, get some advice. That to me is what would be important, is having some sort of community or support group. You've got your family and so forth, but your family sometimes is very, very biased, and they're always on your side. And sometimes you need someone to go to no, that's not a good idea. No, that's not going to work. No, I've been down. You're going down the wrong path, or that's not you. Sometimes you need that from your community.
We're closing
Yeah.
right now. If you look back and all the your journey up till this moment, like, is there one thing you think you'd have done differently in hindsight that would change today's outcomes?
I think probably for me, because I am this way, I'm very binary. And what I mean by that, either I commit to something 100% or I don't. And I think in some situations, I could have changed that. I could have said, I'm not doing this. Not that I'm not doing this because I don't want to do this. Like maybe ask different types of questions to help inform why I'm not committed, because sometimes you'll jump to the conclusion and go, this is just nonsense anyway. And for the most part, sometimes it is just nonsense. But I think sometimes though you can find some nuggets in there if you would just step back a little bit and kind of just go, don't be so binary in this. I know it's not something that you want to commit to 100%, but figure out like what needs to be true for you to commit to this 100%, as opposed to not doing it. I think if I did that a few more times, I would do that a little bit differently, in terms of asking what conditions need to be in place for me to commit, as opposed to being binary and going like, this is just ridiculous.
That's really good advice, to be honest. I think there's a theory for that. It's called something. It's called some gut instinct theory, where we need to learn not to react to that, because sometimes just your heuristics and your bias or your perspectives or your framing of the world at that point in time that is deciding that conversation.
Exactly.
And you just, but again, it's one of those things where I say easy to do but hard to do too. It's like you have to figure it out first and learn how to do that, make that jump. Is making that jump that is the hard part.
And I'm doing it today because it's a muscle I have to really exercise, because it's very hard for me to do. So I have to be very self-aware and be careful to not go, that's just ridiculous. Like, hold on, yeah, it might be ridiculous, but peel back more. Like, why are you thinking this way?
Yeah.
What conditions could make it not ridiculous? Like, how could you think about it a little bit differently? And a lot of it has to do with the way how I'm older, the way how it's shaped me, some of the stuff that's happened to me in life, and some of the nonsense that I actually have been through. A lot of, like, I could tell you stories for days of some of the craziness that I've gone through. That's caused me to sometimes frame up things a little bit differently and look at things a little bit differently. But I think for me, it would be really exercising that, to continue to exercise that muscle. And still, you still get 100% of me. But just look at the conditions. Because I think for the most part I'm pretty open to most things, but especially if things aren't logical to me in the beginning and they don't make sense, I have to figure out, is that me or does it not make sense?
Yeah. The last question before I get into the closing part is there one question I should have asked you that you think, or the answer would be very helpful to other Black newcomers or immigrants in Calgary or Canada? Because people listen to this across Canada.
No, because I think you got to the questions. I think the only thing that I would say and I've seen this with newcomers, is that, especially in the work environment, I remember I had to know your worth, know your worth, and also speak up, because working hard and getting all those degrees and then not moving or elevating within the organization. I've seen that happen. I've seen highly educated people. They're bright, they're smart, but as immigrants, they talk, don't rock the boat. Just do your job. Agree with your boss. Do what you're told. And I think doing your work and doing your work well and all those things are very, very important. But one of the things that I notice is that sometimes those people in those meetings, they're very, very quiet, but their counterparts, their other colleagues, quite vocal in suggesting ideas and making recommendations. And what I would do with those individuals is I would pull them aside and talk to them and go, like, your voice is just as important as their voice. You have to start using your voice and talk about some of the suggestions that you gave to me. And I remember I would say to them, if you don't if you don't speak up in that meeting, I'm going to ask for your suggestion. So I would do that. I would go, so, Ravinda, Nigel, why don't you talk to me about that idea that you had the other day? That really good idea. Why don't we talk about that? Why don't you share that with the rest of the group? Because I thought that was a really good idea. if they don't speak up. So I would kind of force them to
Yeah.
speak up, but it would be in a safe environment. Like know your worth, and just know that sitting down and just working hard and keeping quiet and complying, that's not good. That's not going to be helpful for you. You want to do your work. You want to be respectful of the work environment. You want to be respectful of your colleagues. But if you see something that doesn't make sense, or you have a better way of doing that particular task, make the recommendation. Say something about it. It's okay. It's not being disrespectful.
We're at the end, but I usually have this thing. There's a book called The Book of
Okay.
Questions I have. It has 291 questions in it, and the goal is I just say to people, pick one number between 1 and 291, and I ask you the question. They are random questions, the most random question.
I'm going to get that book.
It's called The Book of Questions by Gregory Stock.
I'm definitely getting that book.
So, what number would you pick?
Let's go with 11.
Oh, these days everyone has been in the 10s and the 11s. Would you like there to be a law requiring the police to archive video footage of everything they do while on duty?
I would say so for security for them to have to do while they're on duty. I would say yes. Yes, and it depends. So it depends whether they're undercover or it depends on the role. But if it's just like regular patrolling and policing, I would say yes, because what do you got to hide? That's just the first thing that comes to my head is like, it's all. We talk about being in this transparent world. You shouldn't have anything to hide if you're not doing anything wrong.
Thank you so much,
You're
David.
welcome.
Thank you. This has been a really, really, really good conversation.
Thank you.
Like, I've had a good time.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you so much.
I can't believe the hour's gone.
Yeah, like I was like, I don't take up more of your time. I'm already past the hour. We've blown past the hour basically. But thank you so much. And for everyone who's listening, I hope this was as useful for you as it was for me. But thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. You have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend.
Yeah, thank you so much.